The third cliche that narcissists absolutely love to use is psychoanalysis and mind reading. Again, in the hands of a normal functioning adult, you should be ashamed doing that. Sometimes I'm looking at people with narcissistic personality disorder talking. I'm like, aren't you ashamed? There's different styles of doing this. So the fake psychoanalysis is they've read a few blog posts, they've seen a few things on Facebook, they know a few buzzwords, and they'll sit back and they'll stroke their chin and they'll go, this is because you haven't resolved your mother wound, or some other term that they've picked up that they don't actually fully understand, so they can sit back and psychoanalyze you. This is extraordinarily rude. Even if you don't have narcissistic personality disorder, you must not psychoanalyze strangers. You mustn't psychoanalyze your friends. You shouldn't really be psychoanalyzing anybody. And if you turn around to them and present them with your psychoanalytic view of them, it's incredibly rude, if not narcissistic, to do that. You'll notice as well, of course, they're psychoanalyzing you from this position of superiority. Meanwhile, their entire life is in a shambles. They're absolutely ruined. They're riddled with anxiety, riddled with depression. They do not function in the world. They can't drive. They don't pay their taxes. They can barely tie their shoelaces, but they'll sit back, stroke the chin, and give you their Hannibal Lecter-esque cutting psychoanalysis of who you are. And most embarrassingly and cringe-inducingly, it will also typically be completely wrong, because they cannot see who you are clearly through the the shield that they're viewing through, the shield of the false self, which blurs and distorts everything. It distorts, deletes, and generalizes reality as a self-serving mechanism. The flip side of this coin, it's the same thing but a different style. There might be more of a spiritual element to this, psychic view of reading you, but it's still mind reading. They're still saying, I know more about you. The message here is, I know you better than you know yourself. Even you don't know what your motivations are, but I do. Well, that automatically puts them, that's not a way for an adult to speak to another adult. That's a vertical power dynamic. That's a parent to a child. I know you better than you know yourself. I know what's good for you. I know myself not at all. It's clearly physically evident that I cannot control my most basic impulses, but I'm going to sit back on my throne and analyze you from on high. The mind reading thing is also a double bind. It's quite nasty, because if they say to you, I know that you did this and I know what your motivation was, you say, I didn't do that, and that's not my motivation anyway. They can turn it around and say, no, I know what your motivations are, even if you don't, because back to psychoanalysis, psychobabble, BS, you're doing it unconsciously. Oh, now you've said the word unconscious. I guess you have carte blanche to accuse anybody of anything.